I figured today I would get back onto that Sony EVS3000. You remember the one from about a month ago that all the caps had leaked all over the power supply and did all kinds of damage? Yeah, you know the one. Well, I'm back on it today. The last time we were on the EVS3000, besides having a distorted picture, it would not load. The loading motor would not come on, would not attempt to load the tape. So we have to look at the transport or the servo circuit here on the recorder section. I'm going to pop open the control board. This is where all the servos and stuff are located. I'm just giving the board a quick visual inspection. There's a, I believe there's a protector on here, and it's right there. Let's just see if that protector is open. So one of those IC protectors. So this should be it here. Is this open or not? Okay, so it's not open. So don't have a blown fuse. That's what I was looking for. I'm just looking to see if there's any others on here. I know there's that one there, but that's okay. What else have we got on here? The fact that this had a power supply problem, I still could have a missing voltage for the motors. I can't help but think that there may be still a problem in this power supply, that I may be missing a voltage because there was so much corrosion in here. So I'm just going to go over this thing with a fine-tooth comb again and just see if I can spot any connections that may be bad on here, because as I say, this was in probably one of the worst conditions I've seen for capacitor leakage. And even though I've got all my voltages, I don't know that the voltages are correct. They may still have a problem with losing a voltage or a voltage being wrong. So I'm just going to go over and just really inspect this closely, inspect all these traces, maybe remove even some more of the solder mask, and just give a real good look using my magnifiers and just see if I can spot anything else on here that might be causing a voltage to be low or missing. And that might be why my motors aren't turning on. On that IC protector on the board, I'm seeing about 8 volts. I don't know if that's right or not because I don't have a schematic handy for this unit, and it's been a while since I've worked on one, but just judging from all the damage on this board from all the leakage, it's a good possibility that there's still a problem on here. Even though it's working, it may not be working right. So I'm going to do some close inspection on the board. As I suspected, there are more connections in here that I've spotted. There's an open right here. If we look, I just scraped away the solder mask, but if we look right here, we can clearly see that this trace goes right through here and ends up over here, but yet it's open. So that's open right in here. So I'm going to have to put a wire in place of that. We'll bridge a piece of wire to this SCR. This is in the shutdown circuit. That's one that's open. I found another one over here. Well, this one's gone up, turned all black. This trace here has turned all black. That's another one that appears to be open. Well, maybe not. Okay, well, it looked at there initially. Where else did I find? I found another one over here somewhere that it looked bad. When I touched it, it seemed to move. Where was it? Back here, I think. Is it this one? Anyway, still a lot of areas on this board that don't look good. Just from leaking caps. And I laugh when this is a single layer board on here too, right? So I laugh when people say, "Oh, we'll just clean the board. We'll clean the camcorder board in an ultrasonic bath, and that'll take care of all the problems." Yeah. Keep telling yourself that. Even this one here, if I get this one running and see if I can solve all the problems on this unit, I don't know how I could even guarantee that the thing's going to last just from the damage. But I'm going to go and I'm going to fix this one right here first of all. This trace here. I'm going to fix that one. You can see it. It's broken right here. And there was another one that I saw too. Where the heck was it? It was down here somewhere. Right here. Oh, there, right there. See that? There's a crack. This one here is attached to this trace. There's a break right there. So let's fix that. I'm going to put some solder some jumper wires in place. Some of them I can probably just tack right back down, but other ones I'm going to have to put jumper wires in to fix this because yeah, that one's right there. Just take care of this one so I can see. Pretty sure it goes to this one. It's a positive lead. And then this one here, this other side, this here makes me kind of nervous. So I went over the board again. I put a couple jumpers in where there was open connections. I'm going to put the power supply back together, and we'll put this back in the unit and see whether it does anything different than before. And what I'm hoping is that I'm going to get the motors to fire up. I know I still got a video problem, but also got the motors are dead. Nothing's loading or anything, so we got more than one problem. Get the motors working, then I can work on the video circuits, because the video is badly compressed. As we saw in the last video when I just had tuner video playing through it, but it's also doing the same thing when I try to run video from like color bars through it. It still looks like crap. So there's still several problems with this unit. We just have to kind of solve the problems one at a time and see if we can get the unit to actually turn on and do something. It's I mean, people love to blame Sony and say, "Oh, this that Sony was crap," and those you know, the capacitors were crap. Well, people are quick to point the finger at Sony, and a lot of people don't even realize that Sony did not make this power supply. It was made for them, and the company that made it just did a really bad job of making them. I think the brand is on the power supply itself somewhere here. It's Mitsumi who made this anyway, for Sony. But they had a lot of problems with this crap. All the SL VR5, 757, 555, all the units that use these farmed out piece of crap power supplies with the bad Elna caps. I mean, it's a Sony part number, right? They made that, but it was made to Sony spec for Sony. But people are quick to blame Sony for this, and it's an off-the-shelf part that they used. So I'll get the power supply back in. It's going to plug it in, and give it another shot here and see. This plug here, this connector also could be damaged because corrosive electrolytic dripped into this as well, so it could be a problem with the plug too. Power it up and see what happens. Hopefully we won't see any smoke. Oh, look at that! I think we have an improvement. Will it play? I probably won't play anything because I don't think there's anything on this tape that's that can be played. I think that this is the tape I was playing with the with that PAL camera. So the signal on here is probably in PAL, but there should be something on here that I can play. Let's see if it'll do anything. Fast forward. We'll fast forward. VCR is recording. Why is it recording? I didn't push record. Let's just see if it'll stop. It is in record. Why is it recording? That's interesting. Let's stop it. I'll tell you why it's recording, because the keypad's got a problem. That's another problem with this one. You press play, it goes into record. All the buttons are performing a different function because the key switches are bad. Tape's going backwards. When I push fast forward, it goes backwards. What happens if I push rewind? It could be the key switches here are starting to act up too. I'll try it with the remote because the buttons on the front might be acting up. How about fast? It's in record. Okay, it says it's in record. Right now it says it's in record. It says VCR is recording. Yeah, the record light's on. Yeah, try a remote control and see if it'll stop. Got our camera remote. I've set it to VTR2. Sounds like my heater's starting to act up. Fan sounds like the motor's changing speed. Alright, let's just see if this will go into play. Okay, now it's into play. It says it's in LP. I don't think there's anything on this tape, but at least I can control it. I hit rewind. Goes into rewind. Stop. Fast forward. So that part works. I can control it with the remote control. The buttons on the machine itself, when I push play, it goes into record. So the membrane key switch might be bad on this because it's certainly, like, if I show you what's going on, evidently, let's just change the input color bars. See how bad the color bars look, right? But if I push the play button, it says record SP. Stop doesn't do anything. I can't stop it unless I use the remote. Just go back into play and see whether it's actually going to play anything. Not going to play anything. So now we got to deal with what is wrong with the recording and play circuit. I'm going to get a tape that I know has got something on it, and we'll try playing a pre-recorded tape. Well, maybe not. It's not behaving. Eject. Now it looks like it's gone into a shutdown mode. See if I can get it to eject the tape. Yeah. Okay, so it did eject the tape. I'm just going to try putting a tape in that I know something's on. I just want to see whether it'll attempt to play anything. As I say, we're making progress, but we're still a long way from getting this thing functional. So this is an 8mm tape. There's nothing. There's no picture. The counter is moving, so it's reading something off the tape. Put it into pause. No picture. Will it eject? See, the erratic operation of the mechanism might just be due to the mode switch being extremely dirty, because this thing's probably been sitting around for 20 or 30 years without being used. There is corrosion on the board here, as you can see right in here. There's corrosion on the board. So there's still, and there's more corrosion over here on the board over here. If we get a close up, so there's still plenty of things wrong with this thing, but we are making progress. As you guys can see, it's kind of a work in progress. Whether I ever get this thing working or not, it's in really sad shape. Like really, not really economical to repair. I couldn't even begin to give the guy that owns this thing an estimate at this point because I don't know all the problems that are wrong with it. And I've done that before when someone says, "Oh, how much do you think it'll cost to fix?" And I kind of guess, and they say, "Oh, go ahead and fix it," and then I'm way off. So, I couldn't even begin to put a number on where we stand on this unit as it sits. I've got the power supply working, I've got the tape transport now loading and unloading. I guess the next thing is to see if I can get it to play a tape. If I can get it to play something, gradually, there, the heater finally went off. Gradually, and they say the buttons on the front don't work. It's when I push the play button, it's trying to go into record. It's doing the same thing as the record button is trying to do. I've got the safety tab flipped on the back here, so it won't erase my tape. But hitting the play button does the same thing as pushing the record switch. So that's a problem. It's going to be probably this membrane keypad. It's probably shot, or there's corrosion on the board where this plugs in and it's reading the resistance, because on here it's just going to be a series of resistors. Like when I try to change the channel, it says please set the clock. It's not even letting me change channels. Like none of the buttons are doing anything. No timer has been set. So the edit button is trying to do the same thing as the timer record button, because there's no timer that's set. And I'm getting a message saying no timer has been set. But please set the clock. Quick timer. What does this one say? No timer recording has been set. When I hit the edit switch, which should just turn the edit circuits on and off, I get no timer recording has been set. So another issue that we need to deal with. I'm wondering if just the heads are completely clogged on this unit, and that's why we're not getting any type of a picture. Of course, the head amp is probably bad. I guess the next thing I got to look at is the actual. We'll look at the preamp, because I bet you there's bad caps in here. So let's pull the preamp. We'll take a look at that and see if I can get this thing to play. I'm not concerned whether it records or not. I doubt very much whether the guy that owns this thing is going to ever use it for recording. He's more interested, I think, in as a playback machine. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I've made some progress. I'm going to pull the preamp out. We're going to take a look in here and see whether the caps are bad in here. I bet you there are a bunch of them. And maybe I can get this thing to play on this video. And we may be going into a third part. So I can undo the head connector here. I don't know how many parts this video is going to be, but it's going to be at least 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. I don't know. I don't know when I'm working on this one. It's just got so many different things that are bad with it. And this is something you got to keep in mind if you're buying vintage equipment of this vintage. This is what you're going to get. I had a guy contact me just today asking about CCD TR81 camcorders because he's bought several of them and they don't work. No kidding, they don't work. I don't think you'll find any that work. Not now. Even mine, which I fixed. I fixed mine. I don't know how many times I fixed mine. I think I fixed it 2 or 3 times on camera. I'll be doing another video on it because it has developed another problem yet again. And it's not like it's been used. It's been since I fixed it last time, and I've done several caps on the camera board. It plays. It's got video. The camera works. But now, when it's playing, the picture shakes back and forth. So there's a problem in the drum servo now that wasn't there before. And that's the problem when you deal with this old, archaic equipment. The fellow I was emailing earlier today, he says how he complains about how the Hi8 format was, how he called it, I think he called it a horrible format. But it's not so much the format, it's just the stuff was never really designed to be running 40 years later. And here we got a bunch of surface mounted caps, so we'll change these out. Because we know they're going to be gone. They're going to be bad, all of them. And we'll see whether I can get this thing to give me some type of a picture. If I can get some type of a picture, then I can deal with the time-based corrector because it's going to need work as well. So as we can see, I got to change these ones out. They're all leaking. No surprise there. 1 microfarad and 10 microfarads it looks like, and 22s. 1, 10, and 22. Let me see what I can find. There's 2 1s, 3 1s, 4 10s, and 2 22s. So, time to cut and replace. So I'm just going to start with the 1s, and we'll just start cutting these ones out and replacing them with the conventional beaded type. So that's a 1 microfarad there. It's come out pretty easy. They're all dry at this point because they've already leaked all over the board. So take out the 2 1s down here first. Yes, I actually am picking the wires off by hand. And yes, the soldering iron is 700 and some odd degrees Fahrenheit. Yes, it's hot. But I'm not in contact with it long enough that I can even feel it. I just do that. And I don't even feel it. But don't do that because you burn yourself. Remember, I'm a seasoned pro. I've done this for years, so it doesn't hurt me. all the years of working on electronics, I basically have damaged the nerve endings in my fingertips from being burned so many times, so it doesn't really bother me. Other people that do that would find themselves in absolute agony. But anybody who's been in the repair business or repair industry dealing with vacuum tubes in the past, well, we all have burned fingers. I mean, that's just occupational hazard. It doesn't hurt to do that. You can do that all day and it won't hurt. Now, if I hold my hand on there, obviously it's going to burn and I'll feel that. But the only problem when I do this is, I just forgot about this. I go to unlock my phone and I've now burned my fingerprints, and I bet you my phone won't recognize me. And it'll tell me I have to unlock my phone with my, that's going to be fun when I go back to work. When you do that, you burn your fingerprints, and, well, your fingerprint scanner won't work that well. It'll be fun when I have to get into my phone at work and I have to use my fingerprints to get in, and there's no other way to get in. It'll be like, yeah, my fingerprint scanner is not working. I burned my fingers. Alright, let's put the two 1 microfarad caps in. I'm not going to obviously film this entire recap. I'm just going to do them all the same way as I've done this. There's no point in running the camera for this because I've shown this before and you guys are just going to skip ahead anyway, and when you skip ahead you kind of penalize me. People don't realize that, but when you skip ahead on a video, it actually reduces the, because you don't see the ads, it reduces the amount that gets paid per 1,000 views. So when you skip ahead, it hurts me. But then if I do a short video, that hurts me too. So you can't win. You can't win, that's for sure. Anyway, I'm going to replace these caps and we'll pick this up in a bit. Alright, I got all the caps changed on the preamp board, so let's put this one back together. Oh, I guess I have to plug in these plugs before putting the cover on. That might help. Alright. We've got the two. There's a 3-pin and a 2-pin black connector here. Even these connectors were hard to remove just because they've been plugged in so long. Okay, snap the module back into place. Put the wires in. Couple ground screws, one through the top and the one on the bottom to ground the chassis. I'll plug the actual rotary transformer back in. If you wonder why the heat keeps coming on, we had a big blast of winter here. Even though it's like the last day of February, it snowed. It was snowing today earlier, which is something that really never happens this time of year around here. Didn't stick because it was above freezing outside. I guess that Arctic air caused the snow to fall, but it did stick to the ground though overnight. I woke up this morning and there was probably about 6 inches of snow on the car, although the roads were pretty clear when I went out. But it's a little bit cool today. Normally for us here, it's this time of year, it's, you know, well, I mean, a week ago it was 12 degrees Celsius. For those of you in Fahrenheit, figure it out. It was 12 degrees Celsius here last week. Then it dropped down to like -2 over the course of a couple days. And it's now, I think, sitting around 3 outside right now. Although it did get sunny this afternoon. It was snowing this morning and it was bright sun this afternoon, go figure. But the shop was a little bit cold, so I threw the heat on. Alright, let's see if this will play back any better than it did before. fingers crossed that I'm going to get something on playback. Because I had nothing before. And I still have pretty much nothing. I get interference from the plasma screen. I don't see a picture. I'll throw the scope on here, show you what I'm getting. I'm getting signal from one of the heads, but the other one's not putting out much. It might be a clogged head. We're going to work on that. But I'm getting some signal from one of the heads. I just cleaned the heads with my fingernail here a bit. And I've got my signal looking a little bit better. Still not great, but the sound is back. So we're able to, obviously, if the sound is back, we're reading the tape. I have no picture though, but then again, the time-based corrector boards need to be done for sure. It's a slow progress that we're getting there. I can't even turn off the TVC on this because I don't have the remote. You turn off the DNR, digital noise reduction, I think that's what it is. I can turn that off, but I can't turn off the time-based corrector unless I have the right remote, which I don't have. Just probing the video board here, looking for video coming off the demodulator. And I'll show you the scope. So we have video. So I know the unit's playing. I don't have any video on the screen at this point because the time-based corrector is kind of foobarred. So video is going in, but nothing's coming out. So we now know that at least as far as this goes, you'll see the scene will change here when the scene on the camera changes. See, there's the video changing. This is the comb filter that I'm looking at here. There's another signal there. So we got video. Video's working. Next, we're going to go into the time-based corrector. At least the color bars passing through are actually looking okay now. If you remember how they looked before, I mean they're not great because the yellow bar shouldn't have that green cast on one side, but at least the signal passing through E to E is looking a lot better now than it did when we started this one. That part's working. I've got video going through the main board here. That was right here on the comb filter where I was getting video on playback. But now we have to tackle the time-based corrector, and I think this is a good place to break this video because I don't want it to get too long, and also I want you guys to keep coming back because if I make a video that's too long, most of you just skip through it anyway. I know, I see the stats. I make a video that's an hour long and you watch 15 minutes of it. I make a video that's half an hour long, you watch 15 minutes of it. I make a video that's 15 minutes long, you watch 5. Right? So, I mean, you can't win, but I got to try to come up with a happy medium. I think we've made progress, so I'm going to leave it here, and we'll pick this up again in part 3 when I get into the time-based corrector, and we'll tear this apart and tackle this because there's going to be a bunch of caps inside here that's gone bad as well. Anyway, we'll pick it up in part 3.